Hello, welcome back. It's been a hot minute, let me tell you. We're back with another tarot reading, which I'm very excited about since it's been like a month. I did film a really nice reading that I was really proud of and it was really good, but there has been so many technical difficulties, so we're just letting that go for now. We're just gonna doesn't exist anymore, and if it comes onto the internet eventually, that would be great. But it was pretty much about you as a person. It was describing sun, moon, rising kind of deal, so possibly look forward to that coming at some point when I figure that out. So we're just making a new one. We're trying a different setup. I really want my face to be in it, since I can't do the overhead, because I think it makes it more engaging. But yeah, let me know what you think of it. Welcome. If you're from my little Instagram, I've been having so much fun with doing that Instagram, and it's been one of the most easiest things to do consistently because I genuinely enjoy doing it, and it's just so nice seeing people like it and resonate with it. I love it, even if it's not much of a community yet. I am enjoying the small part of it that makes me feel connected to the collective and just random strangers. It's so cool. So if you came from there, hello, welcome. So glad to have you on YouTube. It's a little bit more chaotic, longer, more in depth. Gotta love it. Yeah, it's a vibe. So today, as you can see in the title, we are doing a reading. Yeah, I really can't figure out how, we're working with a really weird setup right now, so if you have any, tips or tricks or ways that you do things, please let me know, because I would really, really appreciate the help, because I'm struggling. Tech is not my friend. Don't let it stop you from, doing what you want to do. But anyway, this reading is about judgment, essentially, because I was thinking about the name that I gave myself for this, the Judgment Empress, and that comes from just cards that I connect with spiritually, the Judgment card and the Empress card. I can get into the whole story at some point, but anyways, they just really connect to me, and then I was thinking, oh, judgment, and then I was thinking more about the concept of judgment and how we judge ourselves and each other. And so that's kind of what this reading is going to be about. It's going to be about what you're judging yourself too harshly on. So a bit of a shadow side reveal. But yeah, I haven't really made much of a plan for this reading. It's quite spontaneous. But we're just going to see how it goes. I'll come up with some questions regarding that, and we'll get more in depth if it calls for that. But yeah, we are not doing a pick a card for this, but there will be more pick a cards, I promise you. So I'm starting with the Oracle card, an Oracle card, because I feel that's a really nice base to start out. I find that tarot, it can be a little bit more direct and sometimes even a little bit more painful of messages, but the Oracle cards I find have just a more gentle message and a more broad message that you can apply to your entire life situation. And then tarot can be for more specifics and just finding more details about it, but I think this is really great for achieving wisdom from the universe and whatever it's trying to tell us. So before I start this reading, what does the collective need to know right now? What do they need to, whoever's watching this, what do they need to know right now? Okay. We have regeneration. Change is big right now. I can feel it's really big for me right now. It's really big for everyone right now. People going through various different changes within their life. The number is also 46, if that the numbers 4 and 6 are actually some of my favorite numbers. I love even numbers, but 6 is also do with like the number of love. And then 4 is a lot to do with stability. So I think you're kind of finding stability in what you love right now, if that makes any sense. Like you are building your stability around what you love, and you've never really experienced that before. That's never really how you've experienced stability, but you're realizing that that's something that you can achieve and you can do, and it makes your life just feel a lot more fulfilling and just like what it should be. It just feels right. Yeah, you're definitely going through a lot right now, to say the least, but from that is just coming this like really beautiful blossoming, this tree. And this tree, it's like emerging from the lava. Like things are still burning around it, shit's still going on, there's a lot happening, but through that there's already growth happening very quickly and almost unnoticeably by yourself or by others around you, but it's like so clearly there from this card. And there's like one flower that's blossomed so far, but you can kind of tell that there's others that will be also blossoming. There's also a bunch of leaves. It's a very small tree. But you can tell like it's already branching off into different directions. So it's like you are growing in such a way, or like building upon something that you're already building upon, and that's allowing you to go in different directions you perhaps like never even realized were paths that you could take. And yeah, you're just seeing how your life could go in many different ways, and it's like you're called to kind of choose them. Like, of course there's many different paths that we can go on all within like the same time, so I wouldn't put too much stress on like picking the right path, but like I think this card is like kind of asking you to focus, like where do you want to focus most of your energy right now? Where do you want to put your growth? Like you can still maintain things that you've already built up and kind of keep them at this neutral level where it's like a slower incline of progression. But if you really like want to see results, you need to pick one route, and I mean that like as in a route, as in like a path, but then also like the tree. Also, yes, I pronounce it that way because I'm Canadian. But yeah, it's asking you like, where do you want to see the most growth and flourish the most? And you need to like find a way of evaluating what is most important to you right now. And that doesn't mean that you just are gonna leave the rest of your priorities in the dust and like never come back to them, or like they're going to suffer because of this. They're still going to be maintained and at the place that you've built them to be, but they will be slower at progressing further as you focus on this thing. And you can always change that focus onto different things throughout your life and throughout the year and stuff like that. But it is much easier to start something or see progress when you're focused on less rather than more. Excuse me, I'm just gonna take a little sip of my tea. My little witch mug. So yeah, that's the vibe right now. But I do want to know more about the judgment thing, because I think if that card is coming up, I think that says something about the judgment thing in terms of like your judgment is maybe part of what is holding you back, and your judgment, by releasing that judgment, then you can progress further. And like also this card of regeneration, this card of change, is like your own judgments are like keeping you in the transition phase a lot longer than they need to be. Like, you have some shit to release. You have some ways of thinking and being that are being altered and or need to be altered and readdressed. Like a very retrograde energy. I actually don't know if there's anything in retrograde right now, but I always assume there kind of is. So we've already had a card fall out, and that is the High Priestess. It came in reverse. The fact that this came out is extremely meaningful to me, because not only do I have like a High Priestess tapestry in my room, but yeah, the High Priestess has been coming out a lot for me, but it's really all to do with, like, at least how I interpret it, connecting to spirituality within yourself, but also being open to receiving knowledge from, like, spiritual sources. So whether that be, like, your guides or the universe or, like, almighty power, whatever you believe, or if that's people, like, on the internet that are, like, on the same realm, you know? Sorry, I have to pause every once in a while because if I don't cut the clips into short enough clips, then I can't edit them. So that's what that is, if you're wondering. But yeah, the High Priestess reversed, I think that's really, like, really a big issue right now of this judgment that's holding you back, is, like, your own judgments towards, like, what being a spiritual being looks like and what it is. And it feels like you have this set notion in your mind of, like, what it is to be a practicing spiritual being, or, like, witch, or, like, someone practicing religion. Like, you have this very rigid idea in your head, but that needs to be let go, because really spirituality is all about finding yourself, finding what works for you. So I think you're just putting so much pressure onto your spiritual side, which is, like, literally the opposite of what you should be doing, because how that spiritual side flourishes is with no judgment, with no expectations, just doing without really thinking too much about it. And yeah, I think it's, like, really calling you to listen more intuitively to yourself, listen to your higher self, to whatever guides or spirits that you have on your path. And if you haven't really looked into that much, but you're interested in it, I would definitely, like, try reaching out to your guides, and you could do that in various different ways. But, like, one way is literally just, like, speaking aloud, or, like, in your mind, and just, like, asking, you know? I mean, it's good to start a connection, even if it feels weird or you don't really know what you're doing. Is like, you will kind of find what feels right to you, and that will just lead you further down the path of, like, spiritual progression. Then yeah, once you're spiritually progressing in a way that you're really, like, experiencing it and, like, feeling it, that will then, like, mirror how you're progressing in other aspects of your life. So as soon as you start spiritually progressing or personally progressing in this way, where you're really connecting to yourself, you're being very in tune to yourself, you will then start finding that the physical things within your life, whether that's, like, work or, like, working towards certain goals, are going to come so much easier, because they're about, like, you're aligning those things, and those things really need to be aligned. Like, your inner self needs to be really aligned within yourself to then align with things in your life. I don't know if this is making very sense. I'm not a very coherent person, but we try. This is my back hurts so much from, like, trying to sit how this is, so we're working through things. Yeah, I'm gonna want some more cards. So, what else is the collective, or what other judgment energy is the collective experiencing? What other judgment energy are the people that are watching right now experiencing? I don't know if that was grammatically correct, but yeah, what's something else to note? What's something to know? Okay, she just flew right out. We have the Ten of Wands. Interesting. So, you're putting, like, literally so much on your plate. Like, so much of work onto yourself, because in the original Rider-Waite, this card depicts a man or person holding 10 wands on his back, and he's, like, facing away from us, and he's, like, going towards the village. And it looks like it's putting a lot of weight on him. And I think you're putting not only just like so much activities and things that you need to do on your plate, but you're also just internally putting a lot of pressure on yourself. And I don't really know where this pressure is exactly coming from, but I think it could be coming from, like, maybe not necessarily your child self, but like the dreams that you have, or the expectations you have, are like very high, and like that doesn't mean they're not achievable, but it's like you are just starting out, so you can't be putting that much pressure on yourself. Sorry, I was getting, let's just start this again. So the wands were making me think of like creation and stuff, and you know, the inner passion, power within yourself. And I think it's like that part of yourself is putting so much pressure onto yourself, onto the self that is working in the physical world, doing the best that it can, but you're not really like truly satisfied because you're not seeing the dream yet. But part of that is because you're not feeling the dream yet, and really you're not going to start seeing how you've achieved so much until you're like feeling how you desire to live. And yeah, like the whole manifestation thing of like, I'm already rich, so like, yeah, like just, you know, it's kind of not necessarily lying to yourself, but like truly believing this, like, I am abundant, I have done these things, I'm living my dream life. And you kind of, it's just like this psychology that's making you think and realize that, yeah, there is a lot of aspects of my life that I can romanticize to a point that actually move me forward and get to the places that I wanted to all along. Yeah, I'm just seeing the visual here. It's very powerful. It's like this skull is being overgrown and like pierced through by growth, and I think it's like almost like you are damaging yourself and hurting yourself through your growth. You need to slow down in a way, because you will burn yourself out if you keep going at this rate. Yeah, I just find like how like it's like life destroying life in a way, but then the skull is already like perished, but you knew it was once living. So it's like you're almost what's the word I'm looking for? Like you're putting the things that you're doing ahead, and like in your dreams and stuff, ahead of your well-being and your present well-being. You're thinking like too far in the future of when you're gonna be, or your life is gonna be this big, beautiful tree, but you don't realize that it's like you're still just a little bud that's like forming from the ground, and there may be like a rock or something in the way, or in this case a skull, and if you don't like move that skull to a side and kind of understand that there should be a separation with them where you care equally for those things, because you don't want to be trapped within your own creation in a way that, like, it's hard to come out of, and then you do end up burning yourself out and, like, self-sabotaging yourself without realizing. You need to be very aware of the fact that you need to take care of the physical realm first and foremost, and by doing that, the creating and the dreams and goals you have will come easier, but maybe much slower than you really want them to, but that is absolutely necessary if you want to maintain peace of mind and, like, health overall. Yeah. I could get more into that, but I would like to see another card. So, yeah, what is another judgment that you have towards yourself that needs to be released? What is another judgment? Yeah. These cards are so long. Okay. What's another? Hey, I would like literally just one card, please. That is not one card. There we go. Temperance. Interesting. I feel like you think that you need to keep your life so perfectly balanced at all times, when that's just, like, that's not realistic, and that's really not truly possible for any single person in the world, because we have so many aspects of our life to focus on, or could focus on, or want to. But, like, we don't have, like, how many arms is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like, we don't have 8 arms like this god or spider. We don't. We have 2. And so, frankly, we can only really focus our energies in so many places. I'd say, like, the rule of thumb, like, 3 to 5, you know? I'd say 3 is kind of ideal, because you can really put your attention, like, split 3 ways, but 5 is kind of, like, pushing it a little bit. So it's like, if you've been feeling overwhelmed recently, this is why, is because you're trying to maintain balance and progression and, like, an incline in all these things, where you're just, like, improving and improving and improving, and you're trying to do that consistently, like, every day, or, like, just throughout the whole month. But it's just not, like, it's not really benefiting you in the way that you think it would be, because it's actually just really tiring you out, and you're progressing slower in all those areas because you can't actually put much of your focus into all of them, because you're just one person in this busy capitalist world. So there's some things in life that you, like, have to focus on, so, like, you know, making money to live and shit, and then also maintaining the health of your body and stuff like that, or, like, raising your children and focusing on family, etc. So, like, some of these you have a little bit less of a choice, but in terms of the things that you choose to do, you want to do, please keep that to a more, like, baby steps, you know? Keep it to, like, 2 things, man. I'm just telling this to myself, to be honest, at this point. This is as much as a reading for me as it is for you, but please let me know if it resonates. Then we can connect on that level. Yeah, you like have so much judgment to like you like perfection is so big for you. You think you have to be a perfect person and do the perfect things and like make your life this perfect functional life as much as possible at all times. And if any time one of those things slips up a little bit or like gets neglected, you're like, fuck, well, I have to start over, or like I have like, oh, that's not good enough, I'm not satisfied by that, or my life's not going to function in the way that I want it to. But that's like not entirely true. It's okay to like set something down to then focus on something else and then come back to it, you know, for however long that you need. It's like good to take breaks. It's good to, you know, it's like, yeah, it's like when people, for instance, like have a friendship breakup or something like that, or like a breakup, or they don't want to see family anymore, but it's like not forever. It's just like, hey, just letting you know that like I'm not gonna be as like present in your life because I'm dealing with a lot of my own shit and I have a lot going on, and I've decided I really want to prioritize that stuff, but that doesn't mean that I'm like not gonna come back and prioritize you or like this relationship or dynamic again. I just want you to know that that's what's going on, so I don't, you know, lose you or like miscommunicate. That's just one example. So like maybe something like that's going on in your life where you're realizing that, oh wow, there's like actually some people or things that I need to prune off for now and just let settle for a bit and then come back to it later because I actually have more important things to work on that perhaps I've never really like worked on in that way or focused on. And so it's like I've worked so much towards this relationship and there's been a lot of progress, but I actually haven't put much focus on like my own personal development or to family, and I want to do that more. That kind of thing. Yeah, what's another judgment? We're gonna get into something else after this, but I'm curious. Just pausing this for, you know. So satisfying. So what is one more thing about yourself or your life that you're putting a lot of judgment towards? So we have the Eight of Coins. Yeah, these are really all following the same thing. The Eight of Coins. Oh shoot, do I remember that correctly? Just visualizing. The Eight of Coins in the Rider-Waite is when this dude is like looking down at his work, but he's looking kind of disappointed about it or like pretty neutral about it. But he's grown all these coins. He's growing money on a bush. But he's not necessarily impressed about it, and he's not necessarily satisfied about it. And I think that speaks true to your life, is that you aren't ever really satisfied with your progress, even though it seems like that's something you would be very happy about. And I think it comes back to like living very presently and realizing what you have, you should be really grateful for, and really like living in that and thriving in it and appreciating it and enjoying it. And so I don't think there's been enough just taking it in and sitting back and enjoying it. There's been too much, okay, I've done this, good job, I guess. Don't really give yourself much of an acknowledgement, but then like move on to the next step or like the next level, because it's like that peak dream utopia that you're striving for. Because like, yeah, everyone wants the best for themselves and for their lives and the people around them. But it doesn't necessarily happen in a very linear way. that we've maybe been taught to believe. You know, capitalism mindset of like things must constantly progress upwards, and if they go like downwards, then like that's a problem. But really, that's just kind of the ways of life. It's like you're going on peaks and mountains your whole life, and it's okay if you're like in the, it's not the summit, is it? I don't know, like the place in between two mountains. There's this really great book that I'll link down below that actually has a whole entire metaphor about that, and it's all about like kind of the ups and downs of life and life shit. But anyways, yeah, like in this card too, she's really focused on all these thorns that are hurting her, but she doesn't realize that there's these these 6 beautiful swan birds that are in the background, and she doesn't really even notice. And I feel like these ones also represent like those aspects in your life, like not only do you not acknowledge them, but they're almost escaping from you because you're so focused on like what you haven't achieved, what you don't have, that those other things that you've worked so hard to build up are almost kind of escaping you in a way where they feel like they don't matter as much, or like you're not as attached to them, and so they don't really make you happy, and then you put less care and attention towards them, and so they start depleting in that, and you like kind of resort back to your old ways or your old habits, and you almost like don't realize that that's happening because you don't have like soul and spirit put into them anymore. You're just kind of neglecting them or just doing them for the sake of doing them, because you know you have to, or like it once was something you really wanted to do, but now it's just like you're so into the habit that you won't stop it, then you don't even realize that you don't really enjoy doing this as much as you used to. So I think that's also part of the pruning process. It's like it's okay to release things, people, situation that you once really enjoyed being with and doing, but you're not quite feeling that way anymore, and like you can always come back to them. Maybe you'll want to at some point. It's also okay if you don't ever. If it's something that you need to kind of put a long break on or just cut off completely. But yeah. What else is it that I want to touch on? I think we just need one last card. I think we need to keep this pretty short, even though this is like 40 minutes or something. Anyway, what's a closing message, or like one last thing that the people watching really need to hear right now, and that it connects to this whole reading? What is that thing? Time to go. Number 45. Okay, this is really interesting. So we have number 46 to start with, but then number 45 to finish. So I think that's kind of talking about how you're stuck in the past in some way. You're stuck in like you're at this point of progression, like you're growing, as we've mentioned. That growth has already happened and is continuing to happen, but you just keep falling back to what's comfortable or what's constantly burdening you on your mind. And although those things are like starting to kind of fade, that energy is still there, whether you realize it or not. This is a very mystical looking card because it looks like she's kind of like translucent, and she's going towards this very foggy looking door, and she's on this like boardwalk situation. Yeah, and what's really interesting about this deck, it's the Wisdom of the Oracle deck, is that there's little faces hidden everywhere. So I don't know if you can see because camera quality is not great, but there's a little face within her back, which is really cool. And I think that may be talking about like the heart chakra kind of deal of you need to like listen to your heart more openly, listen to your pains and your fears of the past and present, future, in order to release them. Like the principles of therapy, you need to talk about that shit, unpack that shit before you can move on from that shit. You know. It's time, like, perhaps you've been receiving a lot of messages through tarot readings or through your guides directly or through your higher self or whatever, that you're ready to move on to the next thing, that you're there. But maybe one reason why you're not feeling the most fulfilled and content and satisfied with that is because there's like something deeply down layered within the core of the onion that needs to be dealt with. Not necessarily dealt with, but it needs to be like acknowledged and seen and expressed in the various ways that we can express thoughts and pain and just the past. And then we need to release it. And I would really recommend like doing some kind of ritual with that, like a spell where you're physically embodying releasing it. So like, yeah, I don't know, throwing a stone is like a classic, like throw your sins away, like releasing method. And really beforehand, like really give time to thinking deeply about your past and about things that you kind of aren't fully ready to let go, whether those things are actually giving you a lot of pain or have brought you a lot of good, but you're realizing that they're not giving you as much in order to progress as a person. But I would love to read the little booklet thing because they have such beautiful messages in this, and I just can't do it justice, so we're gonna read it. So the essential meanings are endings, completion, walking away from something because there's nothing else to learn or experience. Exactly. So you are at the end of one journey and have not yet begun the next. I mean, you kind of have begun a journey, but you know. This is the moment to bless your experience thus far. Take stock of what you've learned. It's time to move on to new experiences and a new way of being. There's nothing left for you to do, be, or experience in your present circumstances. I'm going to repeat that. There's nothing left for you to do, be, or experience in your present circumstances. Take the risk and move on, even if you need to be in a transition for a time. Your destiny is calling you. Yes, it's okay to be in the transition period. It's not the most comfortable or like sought out period, but it's a very necessary period that allows you to build up a foundation for that new period in your life. I'm gonna read the relationship message and the other messages as well. So it says, it's over. Or at the very least, the form this relationship has taken is no longer of service to you or the other person. This is a time of letting go, of knowing that the journey has come to its conclusion. That doesn't mean anything is lost. Although this card could speak to a breakup, drifting apart, or the end of a soul contract, it is much more about release than destruction. Remember the saying, if you love something, let it go. If it comes back, it's yours. If not, it never was. That saying just like becomes more and more like true to me every time I hear it. Endings are always a sign of new beginnings. If you want something deeper, walk away. Goddamn. Now the prosperity message. This message is clear. The path you've been on with your work, creative projects, and business alliances have come to an end. You will not find the success you desire by continuing with what is now in front of you. This is an auspicious sign because there is no choice that will benefit you other than risking stepping into the unknown. It is time to walk towards something new. This card also pertains to the more neutral concept of completion. You've finished your tasks and can rest assured that this ending will open up a powerful new avenue of opportunity, even better than any you can imagine. You've done all you can. Now trust that Spirit keeps the plan moving forward. Fortune requires you to conclude this chapter of your life. And remember that when you close one door, another opens. And the protection message is, even if it appears that you've reached the end of the line and all is lost, it isn't. You're in a situation that will resurface again later, so consider this a break rather than an ending. Destiny is in charge here. You lose nothing and gain everything when you surrender to that fact. Your soul knows that your destiny is unfolding with perfect timing and synchronicity. Your small self has doubts, but that is natural, and it doesn't have the map of your destiny. The soul does. Spirit loves you. Trust that. Trust that. That really spoke to me. I don't know if that spoke to you, but like, wow. This is just really making me think of something I said in one of my Instagram readings recently, but there's no such thing as bad change, really. All changes lead to something good in a way, or like lead to that progression, lead to something different, because staying stagnant in your life is not necessarily like the worst thing that could happen, but it's like, wouldn't you rather experience life and like go through many different ways of life rather than staying in the same era of your life for like years and years or your entire life? And although there's like difficulties within the changes help you with future changes and future ways of living, and that those will lead you to, you know, your ideal dream scenario. But yeah, so this is all I have for you today, my lovely collective. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you for being patient and alright with my less than perfect setup and yeah, the tech and stuff like that. But thank you so much. Nice meeting you. My name is Anika, by the way. Please feel free to leave a comment. I will definitely respond to it. And also, if you want to check out my Instagram where I have like mini readings, I will put the link in the description box. And if you are interested in a personal reading, you can also contact me through my email or my Instagrams. But yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.